Welcome back to Practical Parenting, the podcast that helps empower parents in the trenches, find joy in the process, and thrive through it all. I'm Christina Wales here with my co-host, Dr. Terry Nguyen, Chair of Pediatrics at GBMC Healthcare. We are approaching summertime. You can tell we got our short sleeves on. School is out. There's more free time, vacations, time outside, adventure swimming, all the things. So there's a lot of fun to be had as a family, and we're here to help you stay safe while you do it. So being prepared can help us feel more confident going into this fun season. So we're going to talk about some scary topics, I think, that concern some parents. But, the more that we can give ourselves some knowledge and education, I think the more confident we'll feel. So the first topic, we'll just jump right into the hard stuff, is swim safety. So drowning, leading cause of accidental death among children, a top cause of death among teens, which I was surprised to hear. And so I guess let's dive into sort of, maybe what we can do to prepare ourselves, prevent it from not happening. How do we recognize it? All of those key things.
Well, thanks for the opening. I think this is perfect. Today is the first really hot day of this month thus far in Baltimore. Mm-hmm. I'm feeling it, but I don't feel the humidity yet. But I think there'll be lots of people at pools today after school and pools throughout the summer. And yeah, talking about swimming, swim safety and drowning is so important. Drowning is the number one cause of death for kids 1 to 4 years of age in the U.S., and also, it's really increasing in adults over 65. I know. I didn't know that. So we are really full circle. I'm part of the sandwich generation, taking care of your kids and taking care of your parents. And now I have to worry about my parents drowning in pools. No, I'm kidding. They don't swim anymore.
No, but I thought it was interesting they said about teens, they often overestimate their skills and underestimate the danger. I wonder if that's similar with older adults, as they don't, they feel confident in themselves. They've been swimming for
Forever.
30 years, 50 years.
Yeah. And you can imagine, right? People going to the ocean and then you're not paying attention to the lifeguard flags, right? And maybe there's a strong undertow that day.
You don't have as much strength as you used to.
Exactly, because your memory is when you were youthful and you could tackle any wave and any undertow and swim towards shore, but maybe not so much as you get older.
It's a great point.
Yeah. And then teens and adolescents, I know why that. I mean, I think I know a big part of it is they are fearless, and there's nothing that they cannot, they don't die in their heads, right? Nothing can happen. They're indestructible. So the bigger, the wilder the waves are, the more they want to be out there. And then, of course, there's also the use of substances, drinking, and other substances. And when you're intoxicated, you're just not as alert. You're not alert to the waves. You're not alert to perhaps how deep a pool is. Who knows, right?
Yeah.
And hence, there we go. There's the accidental drowning. And a lot of drownings also happen with boating. And the few times that I've been out once or twice this spring, summer already, a lot of people drinking out on boats. And again, we hear of accidental deaths and drownings from boats. People are intoxicated, fall overboard on the boat. And
not wearing a life vest.
Not wearing a life vest and drown. And some of those people actually know how to swim.
Yeah.
So now that we know all the dangers that lurk out there, what do we need to do? Learning how to swim, is so important, right? And I've came across something on the CDC, and really most of the drownings in all age groups are from people who've never had swim lessons. So they really don't know basic water safety, right? And then you get panicked and then you're fluttering and you're actually using all of your energy against the water. Mm-hmm. And you're using up all your energy, and you're more likely to suffer drowning. I mean, one of the best things I remember when my kids were taking swim lessons early on is that just learn how to float in the water. If you do nothing else, fighting against the wave or the water isn't going to help you. But if you just learn how to lie flat and go towards the edge of the pool. That's definitely something that was taught in like toddler swim classes, That's all you needed to do. And the same thing with adults or anybody swimming is instead of panicking because you're like, oh my gosh, where am I? Where am I out of sorts? Lie on your back and float to wherever it is. So that's really important, right? So swimming lessons are key. And different age groups have different risks, right? So there's a lot of these background pools for infants and toddlers. Children have drowned in those.
Isn't it an inch of water?
Yeah, an inch of water. So just imagine, like, let's say a toddler, okay? Because, well, infants, like, if you leave them unattended, even in that small amount of water, and they're face down and they don't know how to get up and get themselves, they can drown that way, right? And then toddlers, they get caught up and then they can drown also. Children have drowned in bathtubs full of water, right? So number one, please always, if you have children and they're going to be doing a water activity, you have to be there attending to them. They cannot be even in the backyard plastic pool, they cannot be unattended. That's when things happen. Is like the adult supervising ran in to do something in the kitchen, ran in just for a minute to get more sunscreen, whatever, and that's when the fatality happens, right? That's when the accidental drowning happens. So always attend to children who are in water, whether it's the bathtub, the plastic tub in your backyard or real pool. And the other thing is if you have a pool, at your home, please put a gate around it and security, meaning like you have to have a lock so children aren't coming in all on their own, unbeknownst to any adult that they're in the pool. There's even alarms. We have a pool in our backyard, and the opening to the gate to get in is actually high up. So when you were little and probably didn't know how to swim, there was no way a toddler or even a child, probably, I would say, under 10 would be able to get to the top thing and open and enter the pool. And then the other thing is start swim lessons as soon as you can with your kids. Learn to help them learn to love the water and be comfortable in water. And then, if you're going to be swimming in lakes, in beaches, if you're going to be in a boat, please wear a life vest. It might not look all that cool, but you just get thrown overboard accidentally, or, there's some deep water that you weren't aware of and there's something with some kind of an undertow. You're protected. There are, good swimmers have even drowned, right? The protection is key. Knowing how to handle yourself in water is also key. And, look up the water conditions, right? There are rough waters out there. And do pay attention to those. I always call them the silly flags, but I do pay attention to the color of the flags at the beach that the lifeguards have up. So those are, I think, the biggies as far as safety, water safety.
Yeah, those are all really good suggestions. So say we've done all of those and we see someone that we think might be drowning. What would be the signs that we would?
Somebody struggling in the water, right? Their arms are up. They may be yelling or not, or you saw the head bobbing up and down a lot, and then now you're not seeing. Get the attention of lifeguards, people who know what they're doing. Don't be this old adult that just runs into the water. I mean, that's our reflex, is always to go help the person in distress. But if you're in the vicinity, so have somebody stay there, with the situation, and then get the attention of another adult, another person who can go get lifeguards who are trained on how to do that, okay?
Okay.
Don't attempt to do it yourself, because also, as the person who might be drowning, they may be so panicky, they're actually pulling you further into the water as well. And so now you're both in danger, right? So have a partner. One person remains with the person, and then the other person going out to get help.
Awesome. All good suggestions. So another thing we wanted to talk about with summer is, especially as the heat increases, lots of humidity, particularly in Maryland, it can get very hot, and dehydration, I'm sure, is quick and easy a thing that can happen. So I guess basic question to start, how much water should we be drinking a day? I'm assuming it's more in the summer if we're outside.
Yeah, for sure. So when you're doing strenuous activity, you're running, you're out in the sun all day, you're going to dehydrate much faster, right? Because you're losing water through your skin as well. And then this ridiculous thing where a lot of the high school sports have started training in July and August. Yeah. Okay, makes me really upset, especially with football practice. I know some football coaches can come get me for this.
So many pads.
Yeah, it's just a lot of gear, and it's August. I mean, July and August are the hottest months, depending on where you are in the country. So now you have these kids out there for a few hours in the peak of the heat. Although I have to say, most of the sports training now, they try to do it before noon or after 4. But still, it's a lot of gear. The kids may have even been dehydrated from earlier on in the day, not having drunk enough. And then now they're going to do vigorous sports and lose more water and not keep up. So, that old saying, 8 glasses of water a day, it's actually not a bad a guidepost. Okay. So 8 glasses of water a day for, I would say, for an elementary school child and up. Okay, because there are many formulas, and I actually looked them all up, but I'm not going to share them with you all. So for an adult male, it's recommended that they drink 15 and a half cups of water a day.
Wow.
Or 3.7 liters, right? So remember those 2-liter bottles? You're drinking almost 2 liters, 2 of those 2-liter bottles.
Wow.
Okay, so that's for a male. A grown male, and then for women, it is 11.5 cups, 2.7 liters, so almost 3 liters of water. Okay, that's a hefty amount of water. And you can drink it as in water, in milk. You can even get it through your fruits and vegetables. Believe it or not, cucumber, spinach, and watermelon are almost 100% water. So that's another way to get fluids in you without having to drink water. Be really careful about watery drinks. A lot of people drink soda on the beach or sugared, lemonade. I mean, who doesn't want a good glass of lemonade but when you have too much sugar, you're actually drawing more fluid out of your gut, so you're not maintaining it. Things that will help you maintain the water in your body would be something that's got electrolytes, has salts in it, okay? But some of the sports drink, yes, they have good salt content, but they also have a lot of sugar. So be careful of those.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's good to know.
Milk is actually a very good rehydrating fluid because it has good salts in it. I don't know. And I've seen my kids' coaches recommend them drinking like chocolate milk after sports practice. I don't know. Just the heaviness of it never really inspired me. But milk is a good hydration beverage as well. Okay. And there's not a lot of added sugar unless you're drinking chocolate milk. The other thing I wanted to add is you really want to limit caffeine. So thinking of sodas that are caffeinated, thinking of even just, these popular coffee drinks that the kids are all drinking at a very young age, they're probably not as much caffeine in them as like a whole thing of coffee, but that can also help dehydrate you rather than rehydrate you. And tea falls in there as well. Okay,
interesting.
So yeah, because tea has caffeine in it as well. So be careful. Things that have lots of sugar or lots of caffeine, okay? 1 cup of coffee has about 40 milligrams of caffeine in it. The drinks that are the coffee drinks, Celsius drinks, they have about 80 to 90 milligrams of caffeine, okay? And then your maximal caffeine intake in a day should be no more than 400 milligrams, but that's an insane amount. But I wonder if there are some college students, high school students, when they're really at crunch time, they are probably ingesting that much caffeine. That cannot be good for you.
Yeah.
Okay.
So what are some signs of dehydration?
Oh, that's a great question. So if you're an infant, you'll know there's decreased high. So for mild to moderate dehydration, if you're an infant or a toddler, decreased urination, meaning like less than 6 wet diapers a day. You don't have tears when you're crying. Your lips are dry. Your oral mucosa, it's always drippy in an infant and a toddler, and if it's not and it's parchy, then they're mildly, moderately dehydrated. And when they still have a soft spot, which babies do until they're about 18 months, if it's sunken, if you feel it and you're like, there's like a whole divot here in the soft spot on their brain, they're dehydrated.
Interesting.
Yeah, so that's a good one. And sunken eyes, of course. Now, for severe dehydration, I always tell parents, for the children who've been having vomiting and diarrhea, I say, do they have any energy? Are they like acting like a wet rag? Are they just a rag doll on your couch or on their bed and not getting up? That's pretty severe dehydration, okay? When you just are listless, as I would call it, or lethargic, okay? Fussy and irritable kids. And then the skin. There's no more texture to the skin. You pull it up, and it stays up. It's called tenting. Yeah, you really are very dehydrated. If I pull up your skin and it just stays, see, my skin pops back down.
Uh-huh.
But someone who's severely dehydrated, you do that, and there's not much elasticity
in there.
And
that would happen in a child and an elderly person, because I know that's a big concern too.
It can happen in children as well. Yeah. And then sometimes very cold, like it's summer, and why are their extremities really cold? Because they're clamped down. That means hands and feet. And then if you haven't urinated but just once or twice today, yeah, you're pretty severely dehydrated. And also, please remember, when you want to hydrate up for something, you're actually hydrating up the day before. So I'm, again, thinking of all the tournaments that are going on right now.
Mm-hmm.
And in this area, there's a lot of lacrosse tournaments going on right now, and it's on the beach even. When you want to hydrate up for a sporting event, an intense sporting event that may last several days, you want to be building your fluid reserve the day before, okay? The day of the event, all you're doing is you're maintaining your fluid. You're maintaining your fluids in your body that day. Because, again, remember, by the time you feel thirsty, you're probably about 50% dehydrated. Yeah.
It's good to know.
Yeah.
And I think as parents, it's important for us, especially with camps, sending our kids to camps. They're not in school. And this is something teachers should know for sure, especially in the younger grades. They do have a lot of time outside. But now that they're out of school, making sure that the people that are working at these camps know the signs for dehydration, and the coaches and all these people that are working with your children every day. It's probably a good idea to just even ask the question and just make sure that they know.
Yeah, for sure. And also, if your child is going off to summer camp, make sure that they're actually refilling their water bottle. They should not just go with one water bottle a day. I'm thinking those are anywhere between 16 to 32 ounces. And we're asking you to drink 60 to 80 ounces of water a day, right? So that's nowhere close to it if you're doing just 16 to 32.
Sure, yeah.
So make sure that remind the kids that they should also be refilling their water bottle.
And so if we see a kid who's dehydrated, do we just start pumping them with water?
Yes. But, if they're severely dehydrated, they do need medical attention because they're so dehydrated. They're actually probably not going to be able to keep in the water that you're giving them. They may need it through an IV because they're going to need electrolyte replacement as well. Okay. So for a listless child, who has just been lying there all day and maybe they've had vomiting and diarrhea because there's always summer stomach viruses as well, please seek medical attention and don't think that you're just going to keep trying to get them to drink water or, some electrolyte solution because they actually, when you're dehydrated enough, you're actually not going to be able to take it in orally. Okay. So remember that.
Also good to know. So the third thing we wanted to touch on, which I was surprised to hear that it's very poisoning incidences are very common in the summer. So I guess first, can you tell us why that is?
Because, so the poisonings that we're talking about are things in nature. Okay, so that's really the poisonings. Poison oak, poison ivy, insect bites. So how do insect bites, and then there's the spider bites, and then along the lines of the and snakes as well. And then
My friend had one in her inner tube when they went to the lake the other day. It actually jumped from one inner tube to the other.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so we can always jump to snakes first. Okay. So snakes that are venomous and are things that are the ones that you want to be cautious about. So there's a lot of these teeny tiny snakes, and they're black and they're just like in the grass. Those are okay. We're talking the venomous snakes. So here are the keys, because I had to relearn it for this podcast as well. They are diamond or triangular shaped in their heads, and they have elliptical cat-like pupils, and they have long fangs. So remember those little snakes that look like eels to me, the little ones that slither in the marshes or in the where I do trail walks all the time. They're harmless. Okay, and I'm forgetting what the name they have. But if they have the long fangs, and then they have the pits between their eyes, the pit between their eyes and their mouth, yeah, they are probably venomous snakes.
I'm going to tell you right now, I am not looking at a snake closely enough to see whatever is between its pupils.
Okay, and if they rattle, okay,
that I'm good. If I hear a rattle, I'll run.
You better just run like no tomorrow. And so those are venomous snakes, and I'm going to say this twice, but since we're talking about poisonous stuff, I also want to remind everybody about the 1-800 number for poison control. Okay, it's 1-800-222. 1222. Okay, it's the National Poison Control number, and we can add it on to our podcast.
Good to have on hand. Yeah.
So 1-800-222-1222. Call them even before you call your pediatrician or your emergency room, because the common poisonings we all know about, and then if anything, it's a little offbeat. Guess what? We, the medical providers, are also calling that 1-800 number, okay? And they're fantastic. I mean, I learned so much from them. I feel so much better when I can quote that poison control told me this, and this to do, okay?
Awesome.
So poison control, 1-800-222-1222. As long as we're on the subject of animals, I'll move on to insect bites and spiders. So black widow and the brown recluse spiders are really the spiders that we worry about. But believe it or not, they're pretty harmless, and they only bite you if they've been startled or you've surprised them. And that actually is the general theme for most things in nature, because they're reacting to you because they're scared of you, and then you get a poisonous bite, right? I want to remind people, the black widow spider, it's hourglass-shaped marking on the underbelly. And I know you're going to tell me you're not going to look on the underbelly. I probably wouldn't either, okay? They're often found in wood piles and dark corners and basements. So clean up wood piles so that they don't set up home there, right? I don't know, just don't look in the dark corners in your basement. That's what I say. If you happen to see one, leave it be. Maybe scoot it along somewhere. But if you startle it and it's one of these, yes, it may bite you. So the brown recluse is violet-shaped area on the front half of its body, and it usually only comes out at night. And that's why I have all these patients call sometimes saying, oh my gosh, I think my child was bit by a brown recluse spider or something. And how would we know? Because they only come out at night and you didn't see it. Okay, I'm calling poison control too to see what that bite might look like. Okay, so call poison control. Okay, so how can we prevent exposure to these? DEET, any insect repellent, is very helpful. Okay, and if you're camping, sleep in something that covers your feet and your in your hands. And, so wear long things so that the spider isn't kind of creeping into you. And shake out your clothes and your blankets, okay? So we've covered snakes, spiders, and then there's like a gazillion insects that you could be exposed to. And I don't know that they're necessarily, well, like hornets. And so it's not necessarily like poisoning, but your body will have a reaction. And how do you keep away from this? Again, if there is a hornet or a yellow jacket bee, don't swat at them. Just go away. Because when you exhale your carbon dioxide, they sense fear and danger. They're going to go after you, actually. So if you see it, leave it, go away, and don't try to destroy their nest right then and there. Because again, right, you surprise them, well, guess what? They're going to attack you because they think you're attacking them, right?
So I might be putting you on the spot here, but in terms of insect repellent, I'm always like unsure which one to get because I don't want to get it too heavy on the chemicals, but I also want to make sure that it's actually doing what it's supposed to do. It's not like they have like organic DEET, but
Right.
So
you're not putting me on the spot. I answer this question all the time. And also we're in a tick, we have a lot of ticks in the area that, will cause Lyme disease. So we're in an endemic area of the country, Maryland. Lyme, Connecticut was where it was started, but, all the way up the East Coast. So honestly, if you want to repel any kind of insect, you're going to have to use DEET, okay? I do not recommend using it in infants at all because their soft spot, okay, their anterior fontanelle is still open, okay, and it remains open until they're 15 to 18 months. And what happens then, if you're spraying it all around, there's direct entry into their brain, with a neurotoxin, basically. So I wouldn't do DEET with babies and probably until they're infants, toddlers, until they're about 1.5, okay? If you want to be really safe, you say 2, and then you're like, so they're going to get eaten alive? I'm going to say, well, you're going to put long sleeves on them and long pants on them. So the organic and the plant insect repellents, they don't work all that well, honestly. I think you have to keep repeatedly applying every hour. But if you really want to repel insects, it's going to be DEET. It stands for this whole big, and I apologize, I didn't look on the exact
I don't think we care that
name
much.
of it. Okay, so DEET. But it is a neurotoxin, so please don't apply it and then forget to wash your hands and lick your fingers, or do the same with your kids. Your eyes are a direct connection to your brain, so don't go rubbing your eyes after you've applied DEET, okay, because you're absorbing it right into your body there. So what are other protective measures that you could do? Wear light-colored clothing, keep on long sleeves, pull your socks over your pants. Avoid scented anything, scented soaps, scented lotions, perfumes. The insects love it. And, it's not just the bees, right? And if there's any open food containers out, again, that's really drawing all the insects to you. You're an insect magnet. Hats and gloves. And the other thing is there are certain plants that will help keep away the bugs, okay? And I think that's a different topic all on its own. But know that there are certain plants that also, lemongrass is at the top of my list. I think lavender is up there as well, but lavender will attract bees. I don't know if that then will attract your yellow jackets or not. So there's some plants that you can plant in your garden to decrease certain insects that you want. And I'm thinking really specifically of mosquitoes. They're not toxic, they're not poisonous, but they're annoying, right? So lemongrass is very good for that. So DEET, long protective clothing, wearing gloves and hats. They're protective against insects and also for poison ivy, poison oak, all the plants that may have it. One last thing I do want to say, as we were talking about swimming, algae, harmful algae bloom, and it's called HAB.
Okay.
Harmful algae bloom. It's blue. They are blue-green algae, and they're often found in lakes. And we do want to avoid exposure to that. So in an area, let's say if you go to a lake, I'm thinking Deep Creek Lake, heavy algae blooms, they're blue-green. They're actually toxic. We want to avoid it for people, for pets, and for livestock. What are the symptoms? There's respiratory symptoms, vomiting and diarrhea, skin rash, eye irritation. Not deathly, but very irritating symptoms, right?
Sure, yeah.
So if you're going to be going to a lake, do look out for the harmful algal bloom, HAB. I like that much better.
Well, I feel like that was a ton of information. I even learned a little bit as we head into summer. So there's a lot less structure around, but that doesn't mean we can't still stay safe while we're having fun and relaxing and recharging for these next couple months. So thank you so much for all the fun and good safety tips. And we'll see you in the next one.
Okay, thanks. Thanks for letting me share.
Yeah.